now. We'll see.
Okay, so I'm glad that you were able to come. There were a couple of students who felt that, they really knew most of this, and so they said they're going to give their seat to somebody else, and I'm very glad that you're here. Okay,
Thank you.
taking attendance. Okay, so I had
Maybe at the
sent,
bottom of this class. I felt that was at the top of the other one, maybe at the bottom of this one. So we'll see.
no, you'll probably be fine. Okay, so let's see. So Diana Berkowitz, great. Okay, and Janice, I got you. How you doing? All right, let's see. Janice is here. Let's see if I get everybody. Edie, I got it right this time. Edie, I thought of the ice cream.
Yes, you did.
I got it.
You did. Just one quick thing. I may have to, just let me say, I may have to disappear for like a few minutes later on, just to take care of a personal matter. So it's nothing
Do what
personal.
you gotta
for
do. This is, we are very informal here. We are friends. We are informal. We're here to learn and be together. Now that's Beth. Okay, I have to go to my other screen. Let's see. Beth. Okay, Beth Ingber. Very good. You ought to get an award for attendance, Rhoda. Okay, she's good. And Rhoda, great. And let's see who else. Sherry Stein. All right. And okay.
Good morning. Oh, I gotta change my
We
name.
have a lot of people on today. This is good because we're going to do something important and we're going to nail it. We're going to make sure we have this down and understand it. And we're going to be able to say it in the synagogue with the speed of lightning. Okay. All right. So it's time. And since we're chock full, we're going to get started. So in the Shabbat Musaf, there's a really nice prayer. We sing, a lot of you know it by heart. You sing it, you say it. You've done it a million times. You've heard it a million times. It's Sim Shalom. It's the 7th bracha, the prayer for peace, because on Shabbat morning, we don't have 19 blessings, which we call the 18, but that's okay. And it is on the Lev Shalem, page 191. I did not send it to you. I just thought of it today as I was watching the news and just kind of traumatized by what's going on. Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Carol.
Okay, so if you have the Lev Shalem, it's on 191. If you don't, if you know it from heart, by heart, you can say it. So I'm going to start it. It's on page 191 in the Lev Shalem, middle of the page, 7th bracha for peace. Sim Shalom Ba'olam, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'al am Ukraine. Barchenu avinu kulanu ke'echad v'or panecha. Ki v'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Torat chayim v'achavat chesed utzdaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. V'tov v'einecha levarech et Ukraine. Bechol et ubechol sha'a bishlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai amvarech et Ukraine b'shalom. And in English, it's very nice. Does anyone have the English there and want to say it? Helene, did you find it in English?
I do. I have it, and we do say it every week. We say two prayers of peace apparently.
Yes.
So you want me to read it
in
now?
English? Yes.
Okay.
Grant peace to the world.
Grant peace, goodness, and blessing to the world, grace, kindness, and mercy to us and to all your people, Israel. Bless us all, O our Creator, with the divine light of your presence. For by that divine light, you have revealed to us your life-giving Torah and taught us loving kindness, righteousness, mercy, and peace. May it please you to bless your people, Israel, in every season and every hour and at every hour with your peace. Praised are you, O Lord, bestower of peace upon your people, Israel.
And Ukraine. Okay,
Yes.
It's a really beautiful, I think it's very beautiful prayer. And, there are a lot of Jewish people living in Ukraine, and I don't know if Israel has a response to that. I don't know what's being done globally, if those people are trying to get out, at least the women and children, to safety. I don't know if there's any, movement that way, because apparently the men can't get out. The men have to stay in Ukraine, but they can escort their wives and children to the border, which is horrific, brings us back horrible memories of World War II. I read too many books about the Holocaust. So today,
Carol, JDC,
yes,
JDC, the joint is asking for emergency donations. They do a lot of work in Ukraine. I've
oh,
seen
really?
Oh, yeah, I've seen a lot.
JCC of any particular state?
No, JDC, the joint.
Joint.
Okay. JZC.
JDC.
Joint, is that Zionist committee or something like
D
that?
like dog.
Joint Distribution Committee.
So
Oh,
is
JDC.
highest.
Okay,
JDC.
JDC, okay.
Yeah, highest
All right,
is
I'm-
asking too to get people out.
There's like 200,000 Jews. People don't realize how many there is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
200,000.
yeah.
Including
It's a
the
large,
president,
it's a large
Zelensky is
community.
Jewish.
including the president.
Right.
The president, Zelensky is Jewish. A lot of people
And,
didn't know that. I didn't know that until recently. So the
And a lot of the
JDC,
Jews
okay.
are elderly and poor, because they're living on Russian pensions, because it used to be until 30 years ago part of the Soviet Union. So there is a big need. Anyway.
Thank you. I
Listen,
am going to
And
send
Putin
this
says
information.
it's because it's a Nazi state and they have a president.
Right,
that's
and he has
Jewish.
no idea what he's talking about.
No,
Right.
it's just
Sure.
propaganda. He's smarter than that.
Yeah,
It was
well,
amazing to see last night the number of people in Russia who are out
Yes,
marching against this and who are
Right.
siding with the people of Ukraine. I just feel,
right, that's heartening.
I know I
think
must
is-
have relatives there because that's where my bubby came from, and my grandfather. They must still have family who didn't leave at the end of the 1800s the way they did. But
I think-
I've never gotten my family tree back to see who's still in the Ukraine, but they were from Kiev. So
Yeah, at that time we called it Kiev. Now it's Kiev.
Yes,
Everything
yes,
changes.
I'm trying really hard because they say that is how the people of the Ukraine say.
Right.
So
Well, so I want to master today. I want you to be not afraid of reading the 3 paragraphs of the Shema. And we said that your homework last week was to work on the second one, and I'm going to really dissect it for you. I'm going to slice it and dice it. And hopefully you'll be able to read it. And there's a lot of phrases that we know, a lot of words that you know. So you shouldn't be afraid of it because it looks awesome. It looks big, it looks like a lot of text. But and I'm going to divide it into 3 parts, and I'll tell you what each part means, and we'll take a look at the words, and you're going to see that you do know a lot. So I wanted to ask this question. In the Shema, first of all, do you remember any main ideas in the Shema? Anybody remember anything?
Well, that God is there's only one God.
Okay, so that is the basic Shema, the basic statement of monotheism, right? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And a lot of people stress the last word Echad because the ayin from Shema and the dalet from Echad form the word aid, which I said last week means witness. And so that each of us is a witness that we believe in monotheism, that there's one God. And this is like the core statement. If your airplane's going down, this is what you're probably going to be saying. Okay, like Rabbi Akiva when he was being burnt at the stake. So we have good tradition from this. So in the Shema, the first paragraph, after the Shema itself, and then we say silently, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchut Olam Ba'ed, and on Yom Kippur, as I think we've mentioned once before, we say that out loud very proudly, but not during Shabbat. So we are commanded to love God. And where are the 2 places that they talk about these words are written? What is it when it's written on the doorpost of your house? Sha'ar was the word for gates.
Right.
Sha'arecha.
When
So
you teach,
what is that?
that's
that
the
we put
via
on our
hafta.
doorpost?
Is that the via hafta?
The via hafta. So what do we put on our doorpost? That
Mezuzah.
we have the mezuzah, right? And you speak the
Yeah.
gates. So the word is gate. It doesn't say delit. It doesn't say door, but sha'arecha. Okay. And the other thing about wrapping it on our arm, what's that?
Tefillin.
The fill-in. Okay. So the two paragraphs of the Shema, the first and second paragraphs, which come from Deuteronomy, are in the mezuzah and in the tefillin. If they're in those two places, they must be extremely important, and they are, because there's some very core things that are written in them about Judaism. Now, what does it say about our children in the Shema, in the Ahavta?
To diligently
we-
teach our children.
Right, so each parent is a teacher. So education has always been very powerful in Judaism. So we are supposed to teach the love of God, the unity of God to our children. And when are we supposed to be studying these words and reciting these words?
At home and when we're away.
Yeah.
When we
Right,
lie
at
down
home and
at night
away.
and when we rise up in the morning.
Okay, so morning and night, prayers, morning and night. You have the morning prayers, shacharit. You have the evening prayers, mariv. You're supposed to, the children have something called the bedtime Shema. Very religious families teach the Shema and V'ahavta to their children. In other words, all the time, when you're home, when you're out, and you've seen, I remember going up to, on Route, I think it's Route 17, to the Jewish Alps and the Borscht Belt. And there was a place on Route 17 where people would stop. And if you stopped there, I don't know, they had it was a road stop, and there was a big wall, and you would see men praying
Davening.
there. If it was mincha, they'd be davening there.
Yeah.
Right? I remember as a kid going up to the Borscht Belt. And if you're on a plane and you're going to Israel, and then a trip is like 12 hours. I don't know if you've ever seen that. And then all the religious people stand up and they daven, whatever it is. If it's morning, if it's afternoon, evening, they all stand up. I've been at weddings, Hasidic weddings, where, during the festivities, they call the men to go and pray, whatever time it is. If it's mincha, if it's mariv, all the religious men go out and they daven. So this is something which is ingrained in a life. All right, is there somebody who would like to, I wanted to go over one more time some of these roots. You don't have to have it in front of you, but these roots are going to occur a lot in a lot of Jewish prayers. So what is ahav?
Love.
Love.
Love. What is tzav?
What's the word?
Like mitzvah, tzav, the root. I'm going over roots.
Command.
Good. What is daber? Vayadaber Moshe, Vayadaber
Speak.
Hashem.
Speak,
Speak. Okay, what's Yoshev?
Sit.
sit,
Sitting in your house. Holech,
Walk.
walking on your way, and we have the word leich. Lechilach, and all that. Shachav,
To lie down.
lie down. Kum,
Get up.
get up. Kasher, kasher
bind.
is
Bind. That's interesting.
tie, bind, okay, and we know that about tefillin, and katav.
Right.
Very
right.
Katav, write them. Okay, so these are very important roots. We're going to be seeing them. So the first thing we wanted to do is we want to really, now in the Hebrew schools, they teach two different melodies for V'ahavta. One goes something like this. As the younger ones learn it like this. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. That's kind of this song, this sing song. But when it's done in the synagogue and it's chanted, it's with the trope, it's V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu. I'm fine. Hadavarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'chumecha ukshartam la'od al yadecha v'hayu letotapod bein einecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. So those who know Torah trope, that will sound familiar because it's done with Torah trope. It's not just any old song. That's the way you sing the Torah. And that is that's what is done because it comes from the Torah. The Shema comes from the Torah. Okay, is there anybody who knows that first paragraph of the V'ahavta, whether it's with the sing-songy one or whether it's with the trope, who would like to do it? Anybody of our intermediate students really feel confident in doing that? Who said she was at the best? Diana, you said you were at the top of your advanced beginner. Can
All
you
right.
do this?
What
Okay,
page are we
I stumble
on?
on
The only
some words,
one I
but
know.
What page are we on in Lev Shalem? I'm sorry, I'm not finding.
155.
All right, in Lev Shalem, well, you've got the skinny one. Let's see, in Lev Shalem.
In my Lev Shalem, it's 112.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, let's
Finding
go with
155.
barrels.
155.
See, I learned that when my son was in Hebrew school before his bar mitzvah, and I had to
Uh-huh,
go with him because a parent was required
yes,
to be there. And that's the only
yeah,
part of it that they said out loud. So I couldn't read
that's correct.
Hebrew at that time, and yet I could like learn it just from hearing it every week.
Right.
And then when I started recognizing letters, that's
You
when
said, oh, I
realized-
know this.
I know that, and that's why I can read that, but don't ask me to touch the second paragraph. It's
All right, well, today you're going to touch it, you're going to embrace it. You're gonna give a big hug. All right, we're all gonna hug it because everybody looks at it and says, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, so Diana, you're on. Diana is
Okay.
new. She just flew up from the brownies, from the bluebirds.
now do you
Okay.
want me to just read it or to sing it? Just read it.
Any way you're comfortable.
All right. Well, okay. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levecha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzvacha hayom al levavecha ushinan tam
This.
levanecha
Vishinantam.
Vishinan tam. Yeah, okay. Livanecha
Okay.
udibartam bam beshivtecha bevetecha uvalechtecha bederech uva shach uva kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu litatafot ben einecha uchtarvtam al metzuzot betecha uvisharecha.
Oh, no, very
That's
good.
because
Thank you for that.
I was hearing it a lot, in the service, but otherwise. I
Diana,
couldn't do it
do
that
you have
fast.
any relatives in Israel?
No, but I had, yeah, actually I do have relatives in Israel, but it's more, I've been surrounded by Israelis. I did have, I still do have some Israelis very close to me.
Right, I can hear your race, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
more of an Israeli race than most people would.
It's also because I took
Okay,
French
so-
in college, so I know how to do the R.
Okay, and it's similar, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do this. One more, Alice, you want to do it for us? Don't spit out.
Sure.
I don't want to have to clean my screen.
Just starting at the Ve'avta.
Yes. Just at the paragraph.
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושינתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בעיניך ובלכתך בדרך ובשלוחך ובקומך, וקרבתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
I just want to point out, thank you, very nice, very, very good. The if you see a funny little mark in the word shachbecha, that's one of those when the kamatz is or. So it's shachbecha uvkumecha. Otherwise, great. All right. So any questions about v'ahavta? Any words in v'ahavta that you're having trouble with? We're not quite sure what totafot means. And okay, any words if you're looking that it look the word vishinantam.
So what do they mean? Totafot.
We're not sure.
Yeah, that's
some prayer books just say totafot or totafos, it depends. Okay. Notice you don't hear the word tefillin, because that would be the thing that we're binding on our arm and our head, the totafot, the signs. A lot of the times it's translated like signs, totafot, but
maybe
we're
it
not
means
sure.
doorpost.
No, that's sha'arecha. Sha'ar is a door.
Can it be symbol, Carol? Symbol?
What?
It looks like they're translating as symbol.
It has different, depending on the prayer book. It's translated as sign, symbol, frontlets, but we're not sure. So if you look in 3 different prayer books, you're going to see 3 different words. It's like some sort of a sign or a symbol, okay, that we put on our forehead and we bind on our arm. But we're not sure of the translation. And I looked at another prayer book and it says totafos. That's no help. Okay. So let's all try this a little at a time, and let's get to the next paragraph because that's the big juicy one. Okay, I'll do a little at a time. Is there anybody who would like to be the leader and do a few words at a time? Michelle, would you like to do that?
And where are we again?
V'ahavta.
Okay, we're still doing the v'ahavta. Sure.
Right, because I want everybody, if you can't sing it, I want everybody at least to be able to track it with their eyes, to be able to read it. Because the Shema has 3 parts. Don't let anyone tell you that Shema is just Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, because they don't know beans. There's 3 paragraphs. Okay, it's not just one sentence.
Shema or with the v'ahavta?
Yeah.
Just v'ahavta.
Okay. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol.
Okay, wait, and then pause, and everybody will try to repeat.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
You're the teacher. You're the teacher.
Sorry, a little slow teaching here. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha.
You have to pause. When you pause, everybody will. It's like you do v'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. Pause, and everybody will start again.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha.
Everybody.
B'chol levachacha uvchol nefshacha.
B'chol nafshecha.
B'chol miyodecha.
B'chol meodecha.
V'chayu hadbarim ha'eleh. Asher anochi mitzvavcha. Hayom al livavcha. V'shinantam levanecha v'dibar. Wait a minute. Hold on, I lost my place.
Dibarta, Dibarta bam.
Shishinam,
Shinantam,
Shinantam levanecha.
Shiv techa.
Shivtecha,
Uvlecha baderech.
Shivtecha,
Vivtecha,
Vivtecha, Uvlechecha,
Derech,
Vaderech.
So that's where it's all. Uvishachbecha. Uvishachbecha. Uvkumecha.
I'm good.
Ukshartam,
Tam,
leot, al, yadecha,
Shartam leot al yadecha. Vehayu letotofot bein enecha.
Tam al mizuzot, betecha, isharecha. Brava. Thank you. Toda rabba. Now, let's get to the big one. So there's three parts. When I looked at this, and I looked at it several times, the second paragraph of the Shema, which starts with V'haya im Shema, I told you last week that I mixed up, and I said that paragraph was so just disregard that. So the first part is telling us, the first couple of lines is telling us about God's gifts, what we're going to receive from God. Then all of a sudden, we have a warning. As I said, it's an if-then. If you behave, then you'll get the things that I just mentioned. And that starts with Hishamru. And Shamer means to watch. Watch out. Hishamru lachem, pen. Watch out if you get swayed by other gods, false gods, if you worship other gods. And then we have no rain, no crops, no food for the people, no food for animals, and you're going to disappear. You're going to starve and you're just going to disappear as it will. It's pretty brutal. It means death. It means we will die out as a people. We always say, Am Yisrael Chai. Well, this is the opposite. Am Yisrael, no Chai. No, not alive. Out, goodbye. Then the third part softens up again, and it starts with Samtem, and it goes back to, and it repeats what we said in V'ahavta about, this is what I want you to do. Put these things, put these words on your arm, Samtem et Devarai Ela Al Vavchem. Put it in your heart and in your soul, Al Nafshechem, and tie it, Ukashartem Otam Laod, as a sign on your hand. And they should be, there's that word, Latotafot. Be not sure what it means, as a sign between your eyes. And anyone seeing a person for the first time putting on tefillin will find this rather strange. We have these black boxes attached to straps. We put this thing on our head, and it's got something trailing. We put this on our head, and we have the two straps in the back, right? And that's between our eyes, just like it says, not on top of your head, right here. The boxes have to be right here between your eyes. And the other one has this long strap, and we put it on our hand, and we make Shaddai, the sign of God, the Shin, the Dalet, and the Yud on our hand with the straps. And we tie it 7 times around. So all of this is symbolic. And as I said last week, if you're a lefty, you're supposed to put it on the right arm. And if you're righty, you're supposed to put it on the left arm. But I learned, I'm left-handed, but I learned teaching it to the boys to put it on my left arm, and the girls. In my class, the boys and the girls put it on unless their parents objected the parents had to sign that it was okay for me to teach the girls to put on tefillin. So again, the three parts. First is all good stuff. We're going to get rain, and there's different words for rain. Now, in modern Hebrew, we'd say Yored Geshem. That's just rain. So we have different words for rain in the early rain and the late rain. So matar, they're using that word matar, is rain. And then when it says Yoreh, that's the rain in autumn. That's the first rain in the early part of the rainy season. And they have the word malkosh, and that's the spring rain. Okay, so we've got two kinds of rain in Hebrew. So everything is fine, and you'll have, and then if you look at it in English, if you heed the mitzvot, love the Lord your God, which we just said in V'ahavta, with all your heart, with all your soul, reminiscent of V'ahavta, I will give you rain in the proper season, not too much, not too little, autumn and spring, and there'll be harvest. You'll have grain, wine, and oil. By the way, the word dagan means a grain, and one of the early kibbutzim in Israel was called Daganya. Okay, and you'll have the cattle will eat, and you'll eat to your contentment, the savata, and that is in the Al Hakol paragraph of Birkat HaMazon, where it says you're thanking God for your eating to fulfillment, to contentment. It says here the savata. Okay. And so we have that warning that things are going to all of a sudden turn bad and the heavens are closed up. And then we soften up with the concept of tefillin, teaching our children, the mezuzah on the doorpost. And then there's a promise. Then it says at the end, then your days and the days of your children on the land, which God swore to you to give to your ancestors, will endure as the days of the heavens over the earth. So there's a promise that we will endure as a people. So there's some pretty heavy stuff here, okay? And when I get to, and I told you before, when I get to that, if you wander away to strange gods, I don't usually get there because it's a lot to read. And also, I just don't want to read that. It's very upsetting on Shabbat morning to read that paragraph. Okay, it's very negative. And the bottom is okay. All right, the last paragraph talks about the fringes. The rabbi usually announces it's now time to gather your tzitzit, the fringes, the four corners of your talit, if you wear one. Somebody asked last week, do you have to be at mitzvah to wear a talit? The answer is no. No, the answer is no. And when you wear it, and you come to this point, by Yomer, Adonai El Moshe Lemor, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, Asulahem tzitzit, you will make on your garments tzitzit, fringes. So then you gather them all up in your hand, and there's 3 times, every time we see the word tzitzit, we kiss them, we actually kiss the fringes. You can't do that now wearing a mask. It's hard to do that. So what you wind up doing is symbolically. Okay, and then at the end of that third paragraph, it goes back to God saying, remember, I took you out of bondage in Mitzrayim. He brings that up again as another point for his, that we should love God, because I took you out of slavery. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti. I brought you out, etchem, me eretz Mitzrayim, from a narrow place, lihiot lachem lelokim, to be your God. And then it ends very strong, Ani Adonai Elohechem. Now, there's another word in some prayer books, and mine in the Lev Shalem, it's very big. The word is emet. Anyone know what emet means?
Truth.
Right. And in Yiddish, emes.
Emes.
Emes means, I'm telling you the truth, emes. So emet. So, but I just read, actually today it says, you're supposed to add the word emet, and then the cantor will say, Adonai Elohechem emet. That the Lord your God is the true God. Okay, so that should be added on, where it says, Ani Adonai Elohechem emet. Okay, now I just learned something too.
It's in Sim Shalom.
What?
It's in Sim Shalom.
In Sim Shalom, yeah, but it says
emet.
individuals add emet. It's really small.
No,
And
ours
in
is,
the
No,
left
it's regular.
lane,
it's regular. In my Sim Shalom, which is.
Yeah, it's
no-
regular. In the new
okay, I
Simshal.
have the older one.
It's,
have the
it's
older one.
small
And
in
it's
the
very
book that I
small,
have.
very tiny.
It's the same
Yeah, they
size.
had that slim shalom in the 2 volumes. And so that one that like, I think Shabbat and holidays and the weekday. But in the Lev Shalom, it's really big. It's like about 14 or 16 point. Okay. So there's a lot to read, you know, with the, now Kriyat Shema is the saying the Shema. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so it starts with the Haya im Shemoah, and we refer to the paragraph as those 3 words, the Haya im Shemoah. Okay, and if you listen to this Shema, the Haya im Shemoah, Tishma'u el mitzvotai, you will listen to the mitzvahs, mitzvotai. Now that's a tricky word, mitzvotai. There's a vav that's, it's like a letter. It's not mitzotai, okay, it's mitzvotai. So you have a mem atzadi, and that is actually acting as a letter, the letter vav, with a dot over it, mitzvotai. You see that?
Where are
That's
you
1,
right
2, 3,
now?
4.
First
The
line,
first line
Second paragraph.
goes the
third.
Haya im Shemoah, Tishma'u el, if you're really listening, you will listen to el mitzvotai. Now that could be a stumbling block to reading. Asher anochi mitzaveh etchem. Again, that is acting as a vav, as the letter mitzaveh etchem. So that might be a little confusing. So let's do, I'm going to read that and you're going to repeat after me. Do it slowly, okay? V'haya im shamoah.
Ya im Shemoah.
Tishma'u
Ma'u
el mitzvotai.
mitzvotai.
Asher anochi mitzaveh etchem. Okay, so that's that same root of tzav, command. Anochi, anyone know what anochi means? Anochi is another, it's like a biblical way of saying ani. Ani is I in modern Hebrew. Anochi is same thing, I. That's a translation and that's the way it is. So if you listen to what I'm telling you, to these commandments, the next line says, Hayom, today, Li'ahava et Adonai. And you see the root with Aleph, Hey, and Vav, to love God. So the commandment to love God, which we already saw in V'ahavta, right? We were commanded. You might ask me, how are we commanded? How can you command somebody to love God? Alice, any thoughts on that? How can you command someone to love God? That's a good question, isn't it?
Yes, that's a rabbinical question.
Right. So it's so strong that we are being commanded to love. You know, you don't say to your husband, I command you to love me, or to your children. But we're being, this is really, and it says, I'm commanding you to love me. All right. And now we have et Adonai, and the Yud He Vav He is pronounced Adonai. Do not try to pronounce it. Don't try to put vowels. So it says Hayom li'ahava et Adonai Elohechem. So can you say Adonai Elohechem?
Adonai Elohechem.
Okay, so don't ever try to pronounce Yud He Vav He. That's God's sacred name. Now you see again in the next word, Ula Ovdo. You see when it looks like a little funny T, the kamatz? That's an or sound. There are some words like call that have that marker under them. like the word all, call. It's always pronounced that way. Lechol. Okay, so this is ula ovdo. Ula ovdo. And so we're serving God. And again, the next word, bechol. Levavchem. Okay, it looks like 3 vavs in a row, but it's not. There's a stop at the end. Levavchem. With all, not only love God, but with all of your lev, which is your heart. Uvechol nafshechem. And all your soul. Okay. When you get to the double diamonds, that is the end of a sentence. I want to have some people start practicing this. Okay. Cheryl, you want to unmute? Can you read the first line up to the double diamonds, up to the word nafshechem? Your nefesh is your
Wait, I just
neshama.
lost the page. What page is that? Sorry. On the left.
What book are you using?
The Lev Shalom.
Lev Shalem.
Sorry,
Okay, in Lev Shalem,
I just lost.
156. In Lev Shalem, it's 156 in the book that I have. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so just read the first sentence and it ends with, it's 2 lines, it's a big sentence, and when you get to the double diamonds, that's the end of the first line. Starts with v'haya. Do you want to do that? I'm not going to force anybody.
Yeah. V'haya im shemoah tishma'al es mitzvotai.
Tishma'u.
Oh, sorry. Ishma'u el
Tishma'u.
Tishma'u el mitzvoat. Mitzvoat.
Mitzvotai.
Mitzvotai. That's what I thought. Okay. Asher
Mhm.
anochi mitzaneh. Mitzaneh.
Mitzaveh.
Mitzaveh.
That's.
Echem hayom lahava et Adonai Elohechem ul avdo bechal
Ulovdo. That's
oh, sorry, what?
Ulovdo, because it's on the Kamatz has that little funny line.
Oh,
That's an exception. Ulovdo.
avdo bechal levavech
Levavchem.
ubechal nafshechem v'natati.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
great.
Could we pronounce that word again, the bechol livav chem? Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, yes, it's Ulovdo. Instead of it's Ulovdo bechol levavchem.
See,
Ulovdo.
I don't know if that's, what is that? The 2 dots under the letter. I still do not know whether to pronounce it as a something or
Okay,
just.
under what word? Ulovdo. You know why? It has the trope.
Have a good
So
week.
there's some funny
No,
looking
the
marks. Those are the
bechol
trope.
livav chem.
It's you
Talking
stress
about the
that
Shema.
letter.
In other
Carol,
words, I
she's
don't know
talking
whether
about
to
the
say
letter.
Yeah,
That's
it's the
the
music
dot
chem
sign.
or livav chem. I don't know whether to pronounce it.
Usually,
Levavchem.
yeah.
It's a
So that's a trope.
It
That's
has
a
no
trope there. That's a
Yes, indeed.
Zakef Katon.
Mhm.
Okay.
Carol, I have a question. Carol, why is the trope not written
Guys.
above like it is
Right.
in when you do the Torah or the Haftorah?
Okay.
Why is the trope
It-
not written above like
The trope, it depends on the trope letter. Some letters are on the top and some are on the bottom.
but not
Okay.
here?
Yeah, they are.
Yes, like the first one. V'haya, Rivi, that's a Rivi, and that's on the top.
Oh, I see it. The dot
In
above the E.
Shamoah tishme'u el mitzvotai. Asher anochi mitzaveh etchem.
Oh, I do see it
hayom.
now. Never mind.
Okay,
Sorry.
so they're on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
No, sorry. This is a, if you're not used to it, and then, however, if you get a tikkun and you see it with the vowels, on one side, and on the other side, you see it the way it looks in the Torah, you're in for a shock. And when you get to read the Torah, there are no musical notes and there are no vowels. So it's like,
Right.
is it cot, kit, cat, cut? You need to know what it is. Okay, coat, and it could be any number of sounds, and you need to learn it so well that you just repeat it to yourself and you practice it so much. And so it's like, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so that's what it is. It's just a matter of getting familiar and practice. Okay, so now we have the second. Now here's all the good stuff. The goodies are coming. Vinatati mitar artzachem. What does eretz mean again?
Land.
Artzachem is your land. The chem means belonging to all of you. Okay, I will give rain, just plain old rain, in your land. Artzachem, beito, in season. Yoreh umalkosh, the two different kinds of rain. Because if you have flooding, that's no good either, right? The crop's going to be destroyed. So there's this autumn rain and there's the spring rain. There's two seasons for rain. Okay, so let's try this. Vinatati,
Natati,
mitar.
Arts.
Now, look at that word. The first letter is a mem. The second one's a tet. Make sure you can tell the difference between those two letters. It's mitar. Okay, mitar. Artzachem. Beito. Yoreh. And now that's a vowel. Umalkosh. Umalkosh. Viasafta. Diganecha. Yeah, you'll gather in your grain, but tir shecha. Yitzharecha. Okay, and that in English, and that's, you're gonna harvest grain, wine, and oil. Okay, is there a volunteer who'd like to read that line? Someone who hasn't spoken yet? Sherry Lynn. Aha.
Vinatati matzar arts them.
Okay, you have two shvas. So the first one is an ending shva. Arts, it's the end of the syllable, and the next one has the sound of I, as an if. Artsechem.
Really?
Good, artsechem.
Beito Yoreh Umalchosh Viasafta Daganecha the ear the tear shecha viatza recha.
Great, excellent. Okay, so we have, everything is good. So far, I'm still reading. When it's Shabbat morning, I'm gonna go tomorrow and I'm gonna read this. And then
I
there's
just
more.
have one
Natati,
question,
and-
Carol.
What's that?
Just one question, that artsechem, how do you know when the double dots are just R and you don't say ra, and when it's sa and you say the sa with that extra?
Okay, well, one of the times is when you have the two shvas together and it's like twins. One goes one way and one goes the other way. You break it
So
up.
whenever they're
One is
together.
silent and the other one is sounded.
Okay, so whenever they're together, the second one is sounded.
Artsechem.
Okay,
Naf shecha.
okay.
Okay, one is a silent one and one is a sounded one. Okay, it's a good question. All right, so natati, and I will grant you, I will go, so he's more giving, he's giving more stuff. So vinatati, Esav, Aseb, I'm going to give you grass. Bisadcha.
Where are we?
Bisadcha. Leave him techa. Right. The hema is your cows. This is for your cattle.
Excuse me,
Leave
well,
him
what
techa.
line are you on?
Yeah.
And
We
I'm
kind of
lost.
lost you.
I'm in the fourth line in my book.
Okay, all right.
Near the
I'm in the
end.
fourth line of my
fourth
book.
line?
Yes.
Okay,
Leave him techa. That's for the cows, for the cattle. Viachalta. You will eat this savata.
I'm not.
Now, savata means you'll be full. Like you just had a big spaghetti dinner and you're full. You can't eat another morsel. You had Italian bread, you had wine, you had spaghetti and the meatballs. And so that phrase, the achalta v'savata, you're going to find in the Birkat Hamazon and the blessing after eating. That same word, v'savata. You'll be full. You'll be content. Okay, let's go on a little
Carol,
bit.
I'm sorry,
Now comes the bad stuff.
Carol, I'm sorry, I have a question.
What is
For
what?
Achalta, what's the, I thought that was past tense. What would be the past tense form of that?
Okay, achalta is the past tense, and it's used for future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When you put the
is
vav, Carol,
achalta.
Carol, isn't it when you
It's
put the vav
biblical.
in front, makes it future? When you put the vav in
Well,
front, it makes it future.
But at the ending, if it's, if you just saw achalta, okay, that is a good point. But achalta means you ate. But in the biblical Hebrew, it means you will eat. It's a future. And ochel is food. So the aleph, the chap and the lam, and you will eat the savata, and you'll be satisfied. You'll be fine. Now comes the bad news. Hishamru lachem. Watch out. Hen yifteh. Yifteh. Levavchem. So watch out in your heart. The sartem. And that means if you turn away, the avadatem. And you will serve Elohim Acherim. So Elohim is gods and Acherim other gods. So here is the bad part. Okay, this is the watch out. Hishamru, like Shamer means watch out, guard yourself in your heart. If you turn away and you serve, you serve other gods. Okay. V'hishtachavitem. In Aleinu. And so when we bow down, v'hishtachavitem, and you bow down, not bad enough that you're serving of the gods, you're bowing down to them. V'hishtachavitem. You will bow down. Lahem. You will bow down. Okay. We're just going to stop for a minute. I want to ask a question. So this is something that I want to ask you because I'm not sure I have the answer. Why are we threatened? Why is this paragraph turned? Take care lest you be tempted to forsake God and turn to false gods in worship, or the wrath of God will come upon you, and then the heavens are closed up, there's no earth, there's no rain, the earth will not produce anything, and you will soon disappear from the good land which God has given you. Why is it necessary for us to be threatened like that so much?
Because of the golden calf?
Well, I mean, but this is in Deuteronomy, this is later. And the golden calf, so we went back to, obeying, although we had a lot of sliding back. But the first paragraph is very positive, right? You love God and you put you'll put the tefillin on, you'll put the mezuzah on. And this gets very scary, you know. You're going to have no food. You're going to die of starvation. And it is really very, very punitive here. So that's the
almost
second
like-
part. The first part was all the things I'm going to give you, and then all the things I'm going to take away if you're not good.
It's like talking to
All
children.
right?
You know, you do this, and if you don't, then this
Yeah.
is going to happen.
Because we, even though this is in Deuteronomy, this is in the last book, we're still wayward. We had, rebellion with Korach and his people. So maybe we still didn't get it.
Because we're stiff-necked people, and remember, they got manna from heaven all the time. So
Yeah.
now it's like if they don't work the land and they don't do what's right, they're not going to eat.
All right. So you're saying that maybe this is to make us stronger? You know, we have that
Yeah,
threat
because
hanging over
we're
us?
so weak, we're easily lured away.
Right, so we have to really have this like nailed down with us. This is it's like a teacher saying, you know, if you don't study for that exam, that final exam, you're gonna get an F in this course, okay? And I find that this is a very, when I look at this on Shabbat, and I look at it tomorrow morning when I'm in shul, I find that this is very strong, right? It's very, very fierce. Okay, and then it goes on. And now the third part, let's skip a little bit. See if you can skip down. In my book, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See if you can find Visamtem. So now it goes back to what it almost said the same thing, almost verbatim, what it said in V'ahavta. Visamtem et divarai ela. Put these words, al levavchem, on your heart, the al nafshechem, and on your soul. Ukashartem, and tie them. We're referring right now to the tefillin. You know these words. Otam, laot, as a sign. Al yedchem, on your hands. The hayula totafot, and they will be as signs. Bein einechem, between your eyes. This is really going back almost to what it says in V'ahavta. Limadatem otam et benechem, and teach this loving God to your children. L'daber bam b'shivtecha, when they go shlufi, when they're on their way, when they're sitting in their house, v'veitecha uvelechtecha v'derech, and on your way, uveshofpecha uvekumecha, going to sleep and getting up. So this is, again, it's like we're back to the first paragraph of V'ahavta. Uchetavtem al mezuzot beitecha, and write them on the mezuzahs, uvisharecha, on your gates, so that your days will be lengthened, and the days of your children on the land that I have promised to you because of the forefathers, la'avotechem, for the fathers.
So Carol,
And
Carol,
yeah,
there's an interesting thing in
Yes.
Shalem that says about the going back. It says, nevertheless, it does speak to a deep human need to see a world as containing a moral balance between good and evil, so that we have a natural tendency to want to see the good and the evil. I don't know that I agree, but that was what their commentary was on the reason it went to such harsh punishment.
right. Some people in philosophy say that what is good is the absence of evil, you know, so I mean that's kind of the same thing. And
In
when you-
Judaism,
the-
I'm sorry,
the-
Karen, in Judaism, there's the
Go,
talk
go,
about the
go.
good inclination and the evil inclination,
Right.
right? There's that whole.
Yeah, Yetzer
concept.
Hatov, Yetzer Hara, the two
So everything's always
inclinations,
that
right?
balance that we keep, you know,
Right, almost sounds like the yin yang,
but I
right?
don't like it.
Like Asian, like Eastern philosophy. So the last paragraph, again, it tells us about the fringes and to obey the mitzvot, and it ends with, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. And there's always that connection. There's always that, I brought you out of Egypt, and that was a big deal, and don't you forget it. Okay, and that's in the commandments. I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of Eretz Mitzrayim. So that is a very big piece. And when we get to Passover, you can't stress that enough, that God brought us out and the 4 promises, and the last one of which was, and I will make of you a nation. I will redeem you. I will bring you out. V'hoseti v'hatzalti, and I will make a nation of you. So a lot of the holidays and the prayers are really connected. There's just a lot of connection here. And another thing that I was thinking of, and maybe does anyone here take yoga?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Okay, so if you take yoga, people, I mean, they're not Hindus, but they put their hands together and they say
Yeah.
Namaste. So I wanted to look up, I looked up today what Namaste means. Does anyone know what it means? Namaste means I bow to you. I revere you because God resides in everyone. So that's very interesting. Usually this was said to elders and teachers. And I love it. I revere you because God resides in everyone. Now it's become, like it just hello, right?
Yeah.
People bow and hello. But it shows a reverence that there is a divine spark in everybody. So when you hear that Namaste, you think of Indian culture, Hindus. What about Allahu Akbar? What do you think of when I say that?
Peace.
God,
Who
it's
says
God
that?
I
be
Allah?
think
with
it
you.
says they believe in the
Yeah,
in
that's
their
God be
God.
with you.
God, Allah is great. Allahu Akbar. It
God
means
is
Allah is great.
great.
That's in Islam. So that's their special phrase. That when you hear that, we're talking about Muslims. And when you hear Shema, that it's Jews, that God is one. So I just thought it was interesting that we have these 3 kind of like codes. When you hear Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, and you stress the Echad is one, and that's Jewish. And so the 3 different groups, I thought it's interesting that they have like a key phrase. And I didn't have time. I was going to call my very, very dear Catholic friend, who is very, very involved in her church. She's a lector. She does all kinds of things. And I was going to ask her if there's a particular prayer in Catholicism that is like a signature prayer, signature words about their faith. Does anyone know? I
Well, I
was
guess
thinking right away, I thought of the Our
it's-
Father.
It's the Hail Marys.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be probably more of the
The
Mary
Rosary.
cult than with Protestants, the Catholics, yeah. So is that said when they do the rosary?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Hail Mary.
Yes.
there's also
Rosary
something
is
they say when they cross themselves and they say the Holy Ghost,
the
and
Father, the Son,
and the Holy
Ghost.
Spirit.
That probably,
When
that
they-
would-
when
that
they-
would
when they-
differentiate Catholics from Christians, more the Christians, Protestants.
When they
Yeah,
sin,
so I just thought, and in these religions, there is like this signature line that kind of, it doesn't sum up everything, but it's a signature piece of their ideology, right? Somebody was gonna say something.
I just know when they sin, I see this in the movies. If they don't go to church one Sunday, they miss, or any other sin they confess, the priest says, say 3 Hail Marys or something like that.
No.
They have to say that and then they're forgiven.
Well, I think there's also something that they say, to congregants, at the end of the service where they shake hands, and it's something like "May God be with you," or
Yeah.
which is
Right, may
a
God
more-
be with you, and they say and you and you.
Yes.
Yeah. But then we have in Spanish, vaya con Dios, and we have adieu to God, and we have goodbye, and all of those,
But
like
go-
goodbye is
but-
like go with God.
But
and
yeah,
we have that.
Dios means God go with you.
Right, and so we have a lot of that in greetings.
Mhm.
And but in Israel, they say Shalom Aleichem, may peace be with
Be
you.
with you. Yeah.
They don't say
But the
God be
Muslims
with
say,
you, they say peace be with you.
Alechem Shalom. They do it exactly.
Alechem Shalom is the response.
Yeah.
Okay, so the warning here is do not, under any circumstance, worship other gods, a plurality. We started with the Shema, God is one, and we're supposed to take those words of the Shema. They have the 2 paragraphs, paragraph 1, V'ahavta, and V'hayim Shamoa, paragraph 2. Put them on our arm, put them between our eyes, put them on our doorpost, mark your body and your house that you're Jewish and you believe in this, right? And then it gets to good things, and then it gets to a warning. I told you, don't go after those other gods. Then it softens up. Again, teach it to your children. And then we are commanded about the fringes again. Now, what is important about the tzitzit? What is the purpose of the tzitzit, the fringes?
It's to remind you of the commandments, to
Exactly. Exactly. So
I
as someone
actually
said, we're a
made
little
a
dumb.
chalice for my son about 40 years ago. And there's a very
Oh,
prescribed
wow.
way to tie the tzitzit. There's certain, you have to tie it in the right
So I
direction.
think it adds up to 613, right? All the
Right.
knots. I think it adds up to
Right.
613 commandments.
There's also a blue dye that I don't think they know what it actually originally came from.
Some shellfish. Yeah, it came from
That
some
we don't
shellfish.
have
Oh,
access to anymore to do the.
oh, there was something here.
See, there are
I
a
just wanna
bunch of
read this, and then
Israelis who
I
do
know
think
we're
that
over
they
time.
have that dye now. And so they make, they
Yeah.
have the entire talitot with that blue, and they do sell the tzitzit with a blue
Thread.
with
Alice,
it.
I think it was some kind of a snail, but this is
Yeah.
about the tzitzit and lev shalim. This is interesting.
Like a
They
mollusk.
suggest the word tzitzit may derive from the tzitz, the headband worn by the high priest and tied in back with a patil techelet, a thread of blue. On it were the words Kadosh Lashem, holy before God. Wearing the tzitzit, literally the little tzitz, we are asked to serve God in a holy way, much as the high priest. So we are elevated, right? And I'll end with this one story. This happened quite a few years ago. I was rushing to get to shul. I forgot my talis bag. And when I went to ordinarily, look at my talis bag, put on my talit, it wasn't there. So I didn't sit in my usual seat. I used to sit next to a friend and next to a cantor. I sat in the back row. I felt so out of place and so like I couldn't concentrate. I had no kavanah. I couldn't concentrate because I wasn't wrapped in my talit, that I felt like everyone was looking at me, and I was the most uncomfortable I've ever been in a prayer service without my talit. And so it's like when you wrap yourself in the talit, it has for me, it had a very special feeling, like I'm wrapped in the prayers. Without that talit, I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't wait to get out. It felt so bad. So if does anybody here wear a talit to services?
I do.
Yes, Diana, Michelle, Alice, Elaine. How do you feel when you put the talit on?
Very good.
Very, very
If I don't
good.
have one on, like you
It
said, I feel like
seems
I'm
to
missing
make,
it.
seems to make Shabbat more special.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. From Sisterhood, not from Sisterhood. I donated 3 talitot, 3 pink talitot, to try to encourage women, and they're in the back of the synagogue to try to encourage women. One Shabbat I saw a man was wearing it, and I get, oh, he must have forgotten his talis bag, and all the I think it was a bar mitzvah or something. So everything else was out, and that was what was left. Did he put it on? Why not? Anyway, so I will send you what to study for next week. But this paragraph has a lot, like I said, has a lot of words. If you really read it slowly, there's a lot of roots, a lot of words that you know. And the third one, maybe we'll take a quick look at again next week. But I think next week I'm going to go over maybe maybe when you have your site, different Kaddishes, maybe Kedusha and Kaddish, and prayers for sick. And I think I'll do those Mishberach. Okay, when they say prayers for healing, because we have a lot of healing, certainly. And the list goes on and on Shabbat morning. The rabbi's list is very extensive. And I'm hoping that those people don't have.
Can I say just
I'm hoping
one quick thing? During the Shema, when you kiss your tzitzit, I also found somewhere that they say that you also pass them across your eyes when they say, Oritem Oto, so that you may see it.
And you
So,
see them. I've never
and
heard
so
of that,
that's
but
what
it's
I do that.
interesting. It's always interesting to be a new custom. Yeah. And the rabbi will always say, you know, now it's time, gather your tzitzit. And so you gather your four corners and then you kiss them. Like I said, with the mask, it's not quite the same, but then you don't get lipstick on it. So
That's true.
it's a trade-off. All right, I think, so, but really keep reading that, working on that paragraph. And you don't have to speed read. I found when we do the Amidah, even if it's just the 7 blessings on Shabbat morning and Musaf, you can't go as fast as the cantor and the rabbi. Not unless you really, you know, practice speed reading. So I pick, and it's been said, you know, pick what you really want to say, what you really want to study. So I take a couple of the brachot from the Amidah and I look at them and I think about them. That's the time when it's quiet. If you have any special communication with a higher power, that's the time. You don't have to say the words. You don't have to read the words. You can feel what you're feeling and you can talk to God in your own words. That's the time. Right, when it's quiet, and that's sometimes if I have a worry, a concern, that's the time. And when I'm still standing, a lot of times, the rabbi looks at me, he knows I'm not that fast a reader if I'm reading everything. And I think I see him look at me like, oh, when Greenberg's finished, finally, maybe all right, everybody, if you're finished davening, we'll go on. I have the feeling he's looking at me because other people will sit down and I'm still standing and still working on it. But it's okay, you know, it's not supposed to be speed reading. You're supposed to think about what you're reading and try to understand and think about what's in your heart at that time. I mean, that's what Shabbat is about, right? It's a time for you to be with yourself. And we rush around the whole week and we don't take that time unless you go to morning minyan. So I think I'll be there tomorrow morning.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
have a wonderful
Thank you.
Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom.